Hey, Wixman Ray here. Today we're going to do our worldwide wonderful weather tour. So, we're looking at Italy here. So, this is all Italy. This is northern Italy. I wanted to show you this because, hey, the Olympics are started on, what was it, Friday? And they're going on right now. So, I thought I'd show you the weather there and show you where it's located if you're not familiar with that part of the world. Um, so, it looks like in I call it the lower elevations, they're getting some 40s as you go south, 50s into Italy. So, not bad for February out there, but Italy has pretty mild weather even in the deep of winter. Sometimes they can get some cold, but they get the Alps up and through here that kind of block all that cold air up into northern Europe up here. So, yeah. Um, so this is where Milano's over here. Milan is actually, we call it Milan. And they're sitting at about close to 50 degrees. So that's where part of the Olympics are being held. And then the other parts up in this part of the world, Venice is down here. I'll show you on the map. Let's go to the Google map here. So there's Cortina. You hear of Cortina. So they're right up here. Venice is down here. You've all heard of Venice. Vicenza's over here. Um, there's an Air Force base somewhere in this area. I can't remember exactly where, but Aviano somewhere. But yeah, up here. So it's up here in the Alps. The other part of the, parts of the Olympics that they're doing, like the skiing and, those kind of events. Yesterday I watched that. I think it's called the biathlon. That's pretty cool. I also love curling. I used to actually curl in my younger years when I lived up in New York, but you have to find it's kind of hard to come by in the U.S. unless you're in the location where they have a curling thing going on, so club. So, anyways, so yeah, so that's where the other part of the Olympics are going on, kind of north of Venice. Didn't really see an observation up near. This one's Bolzano. They're at 43. They're a little bit to the west of there. I looked at the weather forecast. They're calling for like mid 30s today for the high, lows in the 20s. So, nothing too crazy out there. So that's what the weather's doing out there around the Olympics. I thought I'd show you. There's also some spotty showers, some clouds around out there. I got the satellite. That's what all this white is you see overlaid here. But so I wanted to start with that. Yeah, up over the UK, we got some 40s. There are pockets of rain going up into. This is one of the islands up there before you get to Iceland. 40s, some drizzle. Yeah, look at Iceland. They got some mid to upper 30s, some rain up there. Not too terribly cold up there, but they get the influence of the ocean, so they don't get super cold, I would think, most of the time. Yeah, and then this is Norway through here, and Sweden, and Finland over here. So, we got some winter weather, some snow over here in Finland, some teens and 20s, depending on your location. Um, these Eastern Bloc countries, some cold air over here in the zeros, single digits here for Latvia, Estonia. I don't know the names of all of them. Belarus. Look at that down in Ukraine. There's no observations. Even if you zoom in, there's nothing. So, yeah. I don't know if that's purposely or they just don't have anything operating because of the war, but thought I'd point that out. Moldova is right here, this whole country, and then we have Belarus. Or no, wait, this is Romania and Hungary. So back at Budapest, it's 41, so pretty mild. That's a normal winter day out there. Overcast type conditions. That happens a lot up in northern Europe. 30s, some teens up in the northern portion. Um, Back up into Germany in the 30s and 40s. Yeah, so winter's going on up in Poland. You got a little bit colder air, some teens and 20s, and then 30s south. And then we go down into this part of the world, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia. I'm not super, I don't, I think this is Albania down here. This is Macedonia. Greece is down this way. So yeah, they got some 40s and 50s there. A little colder as you head north. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on around Europe. Looks like a little storm going through Greece. Another little storm. I don't know if this is a storm. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a storm going through Turkey with some rain showers. Pretty warm though, upper 40s to around 60 on the south. Looks like some blowing sound there for Cairo. 4,000. Oh, actually, it's the winds are light, so it's just some dust in the air. So looks like a little system going through there. So maybe that kicked up the dust earlier and it's settling. Yeah, a little hazy up there. That's Jordan. That's probably some dust in the air. The ASOSs don't always. They can't report dust. They call it haze if it's automated. Sorry, I zoomed way out. All right. Stop jabbering here. So going across, a quick look across the continent of Africa, pretty hot near the equator. You got 99 there, 95, 90s, some 80s near the coast, 60s over here, 70s. Farther south, there's some storms. Looks like some areas of thunderstorms here and there as you head in towards South Africa. It's the summer down in this part of the world, you know, the southern hemisphere, so pretty warm. 60s, 70s, 80s. Madagascar over here, 68. One of the islands off them, 82, so it's real tropical and warm out over these islands. This is a little tropical cyclone. I have it over here. It's called Gazani. That's a zoom up of it. So, yeah, there's a tropical cyclone out there in the southern hemisphere near Madagascar. They get them a lot in this general region out in here. Um, when I worked for the I actually worked for these guys, Avian Weather Center. We used to do global charts. We still do them, but they're automated now. But I used to plot out these tropical cyclones, and they form a lot down in this part of the world. Just some cool information to know. Looks like some thunderstorms up and across parts of the Indian Ocean south of India up here. Very tropical. Look at that, 79, dew point 73. So it's very moist. Very humid. This is Indonesia over to Papua New Guinea. I think I said that right. All tropical, 70s and 80s through here. This is, I don't know if this is still a tropical cyclone. This is Australia here, the western side. Looks like they're getting some showers from it down in Perth. This is Learmonth, where the Solar Observatory is. Looks like they're south of the or north of the rain, but yeah, there was a tropical cyclone. What was that thing called? Mitchell. I guess they're still calling it that, but I don't know. It might be moving inland, so it's probably dying off. So that's what happens to them when they go on shore. They lose their moisture characteristics. So yeah, so out across Australia, pretty warm. You know, it's summer there, 70s in the interior, but it's nighttime over there. I think it's what 2 or 3 a.m. if I remember right. This time difference, and then you know a little cooler in the south, 60s, in our Tasmanian Devil Land. This is the island. I guess they call it the island of Tasmania. 57 degrees. So the Tasmanians are having to, you know, bundle up. That's not too cold, but you know, hey. New Zealand looks like some storms going through the south part of the island here, south part of the country. It's like two separate islands, and they're in the 60s, so you know, pretty fairly pleasant, light jacket weather. Um, hey, I wanted to show you the Southern Ocean. That's what this is down here. Antarctica's down here. Look at these storms. I'll start over here, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I counted 6 or 7 all the way across around the world on the Southern Ocean. So very stormy. And yeah, all the storms are kind of out over the water. With some of these are the fronts. They extend up, so they're kind of backwards. The cyclones, these are low pressures, and then the fronts kind of curl around like this in the southern hemisphere. Same here. Kind of see it here. So some of them get up into the land, into South America. Yeah, see that? Boom. A little low here. Front. That's probably what's going through parts of New Zealand. A little frontal system. Yeah, this one's real clear. Low there. Kind of it's called an occluded front, and then it becomes like a cold front back here, and then a warm front somewhere. It's hard to tell because there's no observations, but sometimes you can make them out on satellite. So yeah, and then there's some thunderstorm activity along the we call this the Intertropical Convergence Zone area. That's where a lot of storms form near the equator, north or south of the equator, within a little bit where there's a lot of convergence that happens across the oceans. Yeah, very warm out here in Tahiti and Nadi. I don't know which island that is. This is where I think Tonga and all these islands. Yeah, so warm and humid. Over in the Philippines, it's warm and humid. They're right in here, Philippines. Looks like 70s, upper 70s. Very humid. Yeah. Hey, look at this. I wanted to show you this over here in Honolulu, Hawaii. So you got a whole frontal system. Every once in a while, these storm fronts will come down and go through Hawaii. It's not very common, but it does happen. And look at that. They're getting a lot of rain, which, they don't normally get. It's usually nice weather over there. And all of them got gusty winds, 20 gusts to 30. And this is in knots, so you can add about 5 miles per hour for the mile per hour. So, it's gusty. So 30, 35 mile an hour winds, probably higher in areas, but yeah, and a lot of rain. So very, yeah, some disturbed weather there in Hawaii right now. Probably not going to be out on the beach. It's probably raining most, except for maybe up in the northern island there. You can see there's a little bit of rain coming through, but the bulk of the rain's from like Honolulu south. So, anyways, spend a lot of time on that. Up north, you got a strong low pressure south of the Aleutians. This is the western part of the Aleutians. Shimmy is right here. Got some 30s. This is about normal for along the Aleutian Islands. They always stay in the 30s and 40s out here. Even in the summer, it's like 40s to 50s. They don't get very warm because this is a cool, cold ocean up here. Bering Sea up here, another low up there, kind of moving up through the Bering Sea, and this is parts of Russia, Kamchatka over here. So, yeah. Oh, back cold in Siberia, minus 44. It's cold all across Russia, but it's winter, so. Hey, look at that. The other day, I think we said it was 8 degrees in Fairbanks. It's minus 31. So 31 below. Look at that, 45 below up there at Arctic Village. Up in the top of Alaska, yeah. Barrows, minus 22. This is Dead Horse. Yeah, I don't know if they found a dead horse up there. But it's minus 33. It's cold up in Alaska. But you get down near the coast, this area is always warmer just because you have the ocean here. This is called the Cook Inlet right here. Yeah, so you get the milder, I think the water temperature stay in the 40s out here if I remember right. They get a little colder as you get up here. You get some ice up in here, especially if you get some cold outbreaks. But yeah, so this is Kodiak Island. Yeah, Kodiak's a pretty place. I never went there when I lived in Alaska. Beautiful. Southeast Alaska, 30s and 40s. Canada, yeah, the southern part's pretty mild, 20s and 30s. That's warm for them for February. All the cold air is as you go up north. Negatives are way up here. Go way up north. Minus 30s, minus 50 there. Norman Wells, don't know where that's at. I think that this is the Yukon, I believe, right here, and I'm not sure if this is like a Northwest Territory. I don't know what they call this place. I'm not real familiar with all the little provinces up there in Canada. All right, so that's our weather tour. Here's the Atlantic. There's a few storms out over here, but nothing super strong from what I can just eyeball here. Across the U.S. now, we'll go here. Okay. So a little stormier across the west here. You see some returns on the radar. You got some rain up in the Pacific Northwest, some showers more than anything. The first part of the system now out here in the northern Rockies entering into North Dakota. Not a lot of rain reported. There might be a little bit of sprinkles or some light stuff trying to hit the ground. Looks like the temperatures are above freezing, so that would be rain if it is hitting the ground. You got some rain and snow up here, but very mild. I mean, you see this. I mean, even upwards, there's, it's in the 30s, so they're getting some snow here and there. A lot of light snow out in this area. But, yeah. little bit of precipitation across from Salt Lake City up towards Logan, Utah. Northern part of Utah is getting some rain. It's all rain. The mountains are probably getting some snow, but yeah, Evanston, Wyoming's 32 and some snow. So yeah, there might be a little bit of snow up in the mountains there. So the northern Wasatch will get a little bit of snow cover there. They need it. All right, I'm jabbering on here. Yeah. Otherwise, you got some clouds out here in parts of California. A little bit of misty fog out here, patchy fog in California. All right, kind of getting lost in weather here. The worldwide weather tour. The rest of the U.S. is pretty quiet. I mean, look at that, 60s and 70s across the South, um, and then it's even up into Nashville at 62. Still cold out here in Greensboro, North Carolina, in the 30s. So you got the cold air kind of dammed up over here. It looks like against the Appalachians. Yeah, even 46 in Columbia. So a little chilly. Cold air still bottled up in here. Some teens, it looks like, for the most part. Buffalo's warmed up to 12. I think they were 6 yesterday. So, yeah, but it's winter out there. Don't see any much on the radar out there, at least, unless the radar's not popping up here. But yeah, we got a little bit of light snow across the north too. This is that low pressure that's sitting up in Canada, bringing a little bit of snow up to the northern part of Michigan, the UP of Michigan, up into Wisconsin there. All right, we'll quickly hit our forecast here for y'all, and then we'll call it a day because I've droned on for too long, I think. All right, so this is today. This is all that snow and stuff out in the Rockies, the northern Rockies here, that spreading into North Dakota today. Um, so they've got a little bit of snow up there in Montana, parts of Wyoming and northern Idaho. A little bit of rain up in the Pacific Northwest. There's that low pressure I was talking about in Canada. You know, the reason why you're not seeing anything down here is because the Gulf, you're not getting any moisture pumping up. You got high pressure kind of, whoops, sorry, high pressure kind of ridging over the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf, and yeah, so it's kind of cutting off that Gulf moisture. If it would draw moisture up here, you'd probably see more precipitation down in this part, and maybe even farther south. But yeah, but it's just not getting the moisture, and that seems to be the trend, the way the weather pattern's been over the last, I don't know, month at least, so maybe longer. Good part of the winter. We've had a couple good storms that have gotten moisture, but yeah, a lot of them are just up where the strong dynamics are. Okay, we're Ray's jabbering. And here's this system we were tracking across Mexico. And so we're going to head into Tuesday. Yeah, the rain starts breaking out across Texas, West Texas on late Tuesday afternoon, evening. Another storm system coming off the coast into California with some rain and mountain snow. This thing, it'll clip the northeastern part of the U.S. with, a few to maybe several inches of snow. I don't know. I'm guessing here 3 to 6, maybe higher, maybe lower. They get snow up there all the time, so they're already got a bunch of snow on the ground, so in a lot of areas. So yeah, so this is as we head into Wednesday there. So this storm, we got some lingering snow in the northeast. Rain kind of breaks out across the south from Texas, over to Georgia. Some spotty rain, nothing to write home about. It's a warm system, so it's gonna be near average down here. Out west, yeah, see, they're getting some rain and snow, mostly valley rain and mountain snow. These are pretty warm systems. They come out of, when they come off the Pacific, they're not really cold. I mean, they have some cool air associated with it, but you just don't have that Arctic air. And it's been so mild out here, there's no cold air to draw in to get that valley snow. In the overnight hours, if it cools down enough, you can get valley snow. So, but a lot of times these systems, below 5 or 6,000 feet is just going to be rain. So like for Salt Lake City, you're just going to see valley rain, snow up in the higher elevations there in the Wasatch. So that's Wednesday, middle of the week. This is that system. It presses in, so rain and snow. Kind of quiet out here. A little weak disturbance up here. Maybe a little bit of precip. This is our sign of our next storm coming Friday morning. A little rain breaks out here in Missouri and Arkansas, Tennessee. But then you got another system coming in the northwest up here. But this is our next weather maker. The models are coming into a little bit better agreement. This is by Saturday, late Saturday. So you're getting it's drawing in all this moisture. You're going to get some heavy rain. You're going to get thunderstorms. I mean, there's probably going to be some severe thunderstorms. So that's the first time I mentioned that probably, and since I've been doing these for the last month. But this looks like it could be a good setup for some severe weather out here across the south. Louisiana, maybe even East Texas, up into Mississippi, Alabama. Yeah. And the European model has the low farther north. I think the Canadian has it somewhere in between. So there's a little bit of differences on where they're going to place that, low pressure system and the associated fronts, cold front, warm front. And so that could affect where any thunderstorms and or severe weather will occur, this weekend. So I think that's probably going to be a fairly good bet because this is going to bring some really warm air off the Gulf and a lot of moisture. So that's Saturday. Look at that as we head through the day on Sunday. It tracks across so the entire south and southeast, basically from I don't know Arkansas, East Texas, all the way over through this general part of the world. Maybe Tennessee. Depends on the track of that low. Could see a threat of severe thunderstorms this weekend. So something to watch. Maybe on the northern fringe, if there's cold air left, and where this cold air damage is going on, and like Virginia and West Virginia, you might get a little mixed bag or some light snow. So, and then that moves offshore next Monday, so a week from now, and then you got another storm. So we just got like a parade of storms coming in the west. This is the weekend, Saturday, another storm. Kind of, what's left of it's going out towards Utah and Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada. But here's another one. So just one after the other. And this is early next week. So, but yeah, I think other than the wet conditions across the west, which is much needed precipitation, especially the mountain snowpack, this is going to be your significant weather maker here. So watch out this weekend across, those parts and if it tracks farther north, I mean, you could even see a threat across southern Missouri, maybe eastern Oklahoma. Depends on where this low forms up and where all that warm air, gets pumped into. So this whole general area here, you'll have to watch this weekend for a threat of severe thunderstorms. It's about it for me. I think I've rambled on long enough. So, hey, this is Wixman Ray. By the way, today's Monday, February 9th, 2026. Anyways, get ready this weekend. Severe storms may be heading your way if you live down south. Have a great day. Wixman Ray out.